Hello everyone. First off, I would just like to start out by saying I remember when I was your age, sitting in probably the same exact seat that you're in. I'm sure everything's remodeled by now, but being in South Laurel, going to the First Priority group, club meetings or whatever, and I always believed in God. I just didn't really follow him and didn't really know, and nobody ever taught me how important it really was, but just thought, I always knew something was out there. So I would go to the club kind of more to just waste time and get out of class, and instead of taking it seriously. Well, it's been 10 years since my graduating class in South Laurel High School. So it's got to be at least 15 years since I've been in middle school. So 15 years from wasting time in class and not taking it seriously, joking around with my friends. And it's okay to joke, but I'm sure Miss Kaylin, Sister Kaylin, will let you know what kind of joking I was into, and I was a class clown and always cutting up and getting in trouble and going to the principal's office and going to ISS and getting just all kinds of trouble. Very rebellious kid, which my testimony I'm going to give you here in a minute all this will foreshadow. So mainly, if you take anything out of this video, please take away the importance of First Priority and the importance of mainly what is our priority, and that is following the Messiah, and how important it is today, because Sister Kaylin, I'm not sure how she teaches you all, but I'm sure she's doing a good job, and it's not very hard to understand. I'm sure it is being a kid, but we know that we are going into these end days. Now, I'm not saying that tomorrow is the last day of the world or anything like that, but it's very easy to see that prophecy is foreplaying right now, and that we are walking in the end days in this era. So this is very serious. There's never been a more serious time to get in track and to give your life to our Messiah, who gave his life for you, so you can have remission of sins. And just like I said, when I was a kid, I thought that was cool. You know, I was amazed by it, but I didn't take it very seriously. So I'll just get into it, so this won't be super long, because I'm not sure how much time you guys have to listen to this. So let me just give my testimony. And I just want to say thanks again for everybody, for Sister Kaylin, for giving me this opportunity to present this to everyone. That's very awesome. It touches my heart. We see doctrine kind of different, but the main thing, we see salvation the same. There is only one salvation. And it's very small doctrinal issues. It's nothing serious. So having said that, I'm sure by now you could tell I got messed up teeth. I've got tattoos on my face. And you'll understand that here in a second. Why? So coming out of middle school, being rebellious, and going through high school, being rebellious, and being just pretty much a punk, very worldly, listening to worldly music. I was very brainwashed by the satanic agenda. Keep in mind, kids, that friendship with this world, our good Bible shows us that friendship with the world is enmity. It means that you're an enemy. You're the farthest away you can be from God when you're friendship with the world. And I'll let Kaylin kind of explain what that means in better terms. So I was a friend of the world. Didn't know not to be a friend of the world, because I didn't take nothing seriously. So going through high school, it was getting worse and worse. And then I finally found a group of friends that I could try smoking marijuana with, and I didn't think there was nothing wrong with that really, and drinking alcohol, I got my first job at a golf course, and they would serve alcohol there, and I thought it was cool to be like the older people and drink and get drunk and go to school messed up. Half the time I wouldn't go to school, didn't care really, didn't think about my future whatsoever. So important to think about your future, guys. You have to think about your future now, because later you will not be able to do nothing about it. And you need that. You need to graduate high school to do anything in this life. I did not understand how important that was when I was your age. It's so important. I know people tell you boring stuff all the time, and you just, yeah, whatever, shrug it off. Take heed to that. You need to graduate high school, and you need to be thinking about what you want to do with your life now, because once you're my age, it's hard to do anything, and nobody takes you seriously. So, as I said, I was getting on drugs, like small stuff like pot, which is very big, don't get me wrong. Don't let nobody tell you that it's not, because it is. It does lead to other things. I know there's a big debate about that right now going on in America. But marijuana I was getting on marijuana and alcohol. I'm trying to keep my train of thought here. So going through school, started dabbling in the party life. And like I said, I was very rebellious, didn't have a good home life. And I acted out. I guess that's a lot of the reason why. And I was a kid who made good grades. I was not very smart, but I was pretty smart. I could make good grades, do good in math, reading, history, any subject really. As long as I paid attention, I could do good. But the partying just kept taking over and over and over. And then I'll never forget it. One day, I finally got introduced to something that would destroy me and have a hold on me for a very long time. There was kids that was my age doing methamphetamine. And it almost makes me want to tear up thinking about it now. I haven't really thought about it out loud. So, got introduced to that, but I didn't really get addicted to it, but I liked it. And that's one thing I see all these, drug counselors telling kids, making kids scared of it, because it is scary, don't get me wrong. But they don't realize if you do try it, how addicting it really is. I don't think they do a very good job of explaining that, and how fast it'll grab you. But anyways, that wasn't really my thing, I guess where I was so young, and I couldn't get it, didn't know anybody, nothing like that. So it never really grabbed a hold of me. I didn't really care for it. But how fast things spiraled out of control was unreal. So going through high school, dabbling in different drugs and partying and things like that, I wound up, and as I said earlier, I was already working at a golf course, making money, trying to provide for me and my family and whatever, things that I wanted and needed. Wound up, my mother, wound up getting sick while I was in high school. So that resulted in me in 2010 dropping out of high school. So I was in 11th grade. I dropped out of high school and went working full-time. Thought I was building a career for myself, but it didn't last long at all. Probably worked there for a couple years, and it just crumbled to pieces, which my addiction had a lot to do with it. So, of course, it was construction and things like that. And my friend done the same thing, so I thought I could do it too, which his family run the business, so he was better off. He had a sealed spot no matter what. Our friendship wound up crumbling and everything else, and life happens. Life will happen. So I was out of a job, didn't have no job. Shortly after I dropped out of high school, I would still get jobs here and there, work for a while. Nothing ever amounted to anything. And as time went on, I kept dabbling more and more and experimenting more and more with drugs and pills and just that lifestyle. And my mom finally got to the point where she was so sick, we found out she had lung cancer. It was already stage 2 or stage 3 lung cancer when we found out, because we knew she had COPD and lung problems. So we find out she has cancer, and it takes her very fast. It takes her within 6 months. It kills her. Which I can go on a whole nother story about that, because I watched our Messiah, our Heavenly Father, comfort her in her last stages of that. And somebody who was misery and total misery, pain all the time, I watched her be comforted because she gave her life to the Father. So that's a whole nother subject, though. So my mom passes away, and after that, it was me and my brother. Me and my brother was always very close because we've been through so many things together. My dad at that point is an addict also, okay? And I'm trying to give this in order the best I can. So my dad winds up being an addict because he already lost his brother, he lost his mother, and he just now lost his wife, and it takes a big toll on him. And he's already experienced the same things I've been through with addiction. And so he has his own personal addictions to preferably like pain pills and nerve pills, because he's had nerve problems his whole life and things like that. And these doctors, they'll give you pills, and it's insane. That's something that people need to be aware of also. It's the medical industry in this world. But not to get off subject. So my dad is an addict. I've been dabbling at the point where I think I'm not an addict, but just want to escape reality because I just lost my mother. I don't have no job. I'm out of school. Don't have no life. I just kind of hated everybody, hated the world, hated myself. I didn't know who I was, didn't know who I wanted to be. Very confused, very worldly. And I was just in a world of hell. Honestly, I was lost. It was so miserable. And I never want to experience that again, that's for sure. So shortly after partying, living worldly with me, my brother, and my dad, we're all dabbling in worldliness and partying and doing drugs and just getting high and no life whatsoever. No fun. I just remember being cold and lost and so hurt and so much pain all the time. And it's so awful. And Satan, this whole time, keep in mind, this whole time I believed in God, okay? But I did not follow our Messiah. I just believed. I believed. The Bible says in James that even the demons believe and tremble. The Bible says just because you believe in a Messiah, just because you believe there's a God, doesn't mean anything. You have to follow him. And of course, I'll let Sister Kaylin talk to you more about that, because that would take a lot of time to explain that. But it's not just because you believe. You have to put it... it also says that faith without works is dead. You have to follow what he shows us to do, or you're not putting what he says into practice. Well, at that time, I didn't know that. And I didn't really care, honestly, because I was lost. And I'd rather just be in misery, I guess, for some reason, because I hated everything so much, I guess, because of the pain I've been through. I can't really explain that. It's hard to explain that emotional state. So then, about 4 or 5 years, I was 18, and then about 4 or 5 years after that, my father, my dad, wound up getting very sick. He's already had heart attacks and stuff like that before, but he gets to a point where he can't wake up. He goes to the doctor once a month. He come back from the doctor. Like I said, he's an addict. He took a amount of pain pills and nerve pills and a cocktail of I don't even know to this day what all he took, but it was normal for me and my brother to experience that because we would see him like that all the time, but not this bad. And it got to about the second day, my dad was laying there, and I was cooking breakfast, and my father wouldn't wake up, and he loved eating breakfast and drinking coffee of the morning. And that's when I noticed something was different, and I started getting scared, and I started asking people. I don't know what to do, but nobody would help me. I finally had a friend come over the next day after me praying, and at that point I was praying, and even though I wasn't following, I was scared for my father's life, and I knew something wasn't right, and I was didn't know what to do. Finally had somebody help me, a family friend that lived close by, help me get my father dressed and ready, and my dad hugged me and told me he loved me, and that's something he never ever told me. He wasn't in the right state of mind by no means, but he did get that out, that he loved me, and me and my dad did not get along, so I knew something was very wrong. Of course, I told him I loved him and hugged him, and by the time we got him to the hospital, they put him straight into the helicopter and took him to Lexington, UK. And then he was in a coma and never came out of the coma. Me and my brother stayed there for a week with him. And the seventh day, my brother, him having the authority, because he was the older brother and the only one of the family that had the responsibility and the authority, I forget what they call that, to make decisions for the family. And my father's organs was completely failed. He's already been a long time without oxygen to his brain, and he was already dead pretty much. The machine was keeping him alive, and the doctors told us there was, even if he did make it, he would be a complete state of living off of respirator, and he was gone. So we had to make the decision to let him go to the other side, and that took a big toll on me. That's the reason I'm explaining this, my testimony. That took a big toll on me. So that was the second parent I lost, but I literally physically had to watch both of them suffer and die. And at this point, I really hated the world, and I just couldn't understand why so many bad things happened to me, and why I had to go through this stuff. It wasn't fair. So shortly after that, I'm living in a bad neighborhood, in a bad place. And guys, be careful, because London, Kentucky, anywhere in Kentucky, actually anywhere in these end days, like I was talking about earlier, it's so easy to find the wrong people and the wrong crowd to be with, okay? And it's easy. And they'll kind of suck you into it before you even know it. So me and my brother is the only one left at this point. Our mom and dad's gone. We don't have no job. We don't have nothing. And so we keep doing what we always did, and that was partying and drugs. Because we didn't have no trouble doing that for some reason. Satan offers that very easy. And so we're in a very bad neighborhood and can get drugs easy. And at this point, me and my brother are on heavy drugs, doing methamphetamine. That's what's wrong with my teeth. And that's why I got tattoos, by the way, from my mom and dad. I really regret it to this day, because the Bible, our Father is against getting tattoos. And the man I am today, I am against tattoos. I really regret getting these tattoos. It's people profile you, people judge you. And it's not fun, and I really regret it. But so the drugs are taking a big toll on my body. Within 6 months after my dad passed away, we are not working. Some of the details are so gruesome and horrible. I can't even get into them, of this drug use. But we're such a bad we're so bad on drugs at this point and lost. We're spending any money we could get, anything we could do to stay on these drugs. And well, of course, we can't pay our bills, we can't pay our rent and our electric and water, so everything gets shut off. And then finally we get evicted out of our home, and then me and my brother on the street. And I know people talk about being homeless, but we was and Kaylin can talk about this because she remembers this. We was on the street with nowhere to go. All the people you think that are your friends are not your friends, and only when you have something that they want is when they're your friends. But the scripture says, those who do the will of the Father in heaven is my mother and my brother. Those are your true mothers and your brothers and your family. The people that you think are your friends are not really your friends, unless only when you have something that they want will they be your friends. And then when you're homeless and you're on the street and you don't have nothing to offer, you don't have no friends. We found that out the hard way. So staying here, there, sleeping in barns, sleeping on front porches, sleeping anywhere we could, campers, old campers, stuff like that, rotten down campers, staying in the woods. We lived that way for 2.5 years. And at that point, I was doing drugs through all this. And I finally got to the point where I kept on getting to where I wanted to faint. I would be walking for a little while and then faint. My legs could not carry my body. Of course, it scared me, but I didn't know what to do. There wasn't much I could do because we didn't have nowhere to go. So, of course, we wasn't eating. We could barely eat at all, and wasn't living right. So our bodies was reacting to that. So shortly after I began to faint and can't hold myself up and becoming very ill and sick, we finally had a friend of my mother and my dad offer us a place to stay. So any place at this point would be a blessing to us. We didn't care because we just had to get off the street. So me and my brother went to this place, but the place we went to was a bad household also. That was a home of alcoholics, and a lot of pain and misery in that home. A lot of fighting, stuff like that. A lot of drugs also in there. It was not a good environment for us because we was continuing to do drugs there. So at that point, to make a very long story shorter anyways, because I want to let you know the details to this. I become very sick. Notice I can't breathe very good, and it hurt when I breathe and stuff like that. And when I laid down flat, I couldn't breathe at all, and I got to where I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't eat. I would puke everything back out after I ate something. So I would eat, and then I'd puke. I couldn't hold nothing down. My face become very pale and gray. My lips was purple, and everybody noticed I was very sick. So and believe it or not, I toughed it out for like a month because I thought at that time I had pneumonia for some reason. I thought I had pneumonia or the flu. And I toughed it out for like a month, and then I finally went to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, he's like, son, what do you do for a living, and I told him, I explained to him, I've done construction a lot, and I've done drywall, and he thought I had like something wrong with my lungs, like, pneumonia or something like I did, because I was wheezing and stuff. Well, they done the blood test and EKGs and stuff like that. Come to find out, I was in congestive heart failure. And at this point, I am 24 years old at this point. In this story, in this testimony, I'm 24 years old with congestive heart failure. Okay, that's something that 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old people, 90-year-old people get. And I caused it by myself doing meth and doing pills and partying. Instead of just staying in school or talking to somebody or, asking for help, I didn't. I stayed locked up, closed up, and sheltered, and I hated everybody, I hated people because I hated myself. And really, I just hated my situation that I've been handed, because I just thought it wasn't fair, and I wanted things that my friends had, and cars and four-wheelers and clothes, and I wanted to be like the popular kids, and things like that. Instead of asking for help, I just stayed to myself, and it become hatred and anger, and it turned to full-blown drug addiction and homelessness, and just one bad situation after the other. And then I wound up on death's door at the age of 24 through all this. And so at this point, I wound up having to get a pacemaker and defibrillator, and to help my heart. I still have it today, and through all this, the main point, I was in that bad home. So that bad home was better than being on the street. Of course, I got out of the hospital to carry the flow of the story. I got out of the hospital after I stayed about a month, and they got me to where I was stable. And I went back to the house that I was in, where the drugs and alcohol and the same nature that I needed to get away from was there. And I knew in my head that I was done with all these things, but I was still around the people and around the environment, and I no longer kept doing the meth and things like that, because I knew that I couldn't. But I still wanted to. Don't get me wrong. I was still a full-blown addict, and I still wanted to. We wound up having like that environment came so bitter and ill that they was going to jail and getting out and fighting all the time. And I don't know, alcoholic relationships are horrible. Domestic violence is real. It's a very scary situation. So me and my brother finally, their people, their landlord that was renting them that place that we were staying at, actually took me and my brother in. And it was a little better situation. I mean, there was no drugs and alcohol, so we could kind of rest and try to get on our feet a little bit. My brother was working here and there to try to provide for us. At this point, I could not work. I was sick. And we wound up, I actually wound up first hitting my knees. There was already times in my head that I wanted to call out to God through all this. And I did pray several times, but this time I really repented, and I got on my knees and I said, God, please rescue me. I want to live. I want to have a life. I want to be a good person. I want to live for you, and I want to have another chance. Please rescue me. Please save me. And slowly but surely, he reached his arm out and pulled me up and started shedding all the negativity and all the drug use and all the things I've done to myself. He shedded it off. But through all those experiences, made me the man I am today, and showed me what the world really is, and how evil the world is, and how cold the world is, and how just mean the worldly people are, and the world will take care of its own. And so to explain more what happened after this salvation, after my repenting and giving my life, I give everything to God, and I did not want to live that life anymore. And I started going to first of all, living with that person. We wound up, my brother was working at a grocery store, making very little money, but better than nothing. And we started going to a church, different churches, and experimenting with different churches. And I wanted to find the truth. I was searching for the truth at that point, and I wanted to walk in it. I wanted to serve God. Well, I went to a church for about a year and almost a half, a year and almost a half. That we wound up getting our own place. I started getting stronger and stronger and stronger till I could work here and there, and making a little bit more money for us. And we finally got our own place, and we got on our feet. God helped us get on our feet, and let us live in a livable situation, anyways. And then my brother finally got a better job. He's still there today. And I've become more stronger and stronger, and I could still work here and there and make pretty good money, doing different things. And so I realize at this point, I just wish I could show you let you experience and let you feel exactly what I felt through that, and show you how much difference and just I was changed. And I'm not saying it's easy, because you can go right back to that very easily. But the Father just took all those addictions, and I'm at the point where I tell Kaylin all the time. I tell Miss Kaylin, Sister Kaylin, all the time, I would do anything to go back in time and just listen to Kaylin, because she warned me, and she's been a lifelong Christian, and she's always had a love for God, and I always admired that. I did, but I just did not listen. And I'd do anything to go back in time and just go to school. If I have a problem, reach out to somebody. Somebody is always there, and they'll listen to you. And I know sometimes it's embarrassing, but I'm promised they've heard worse. So if you are going through something, let them know. And most importantly, give your life to God through our Messiah. It's the most important thing that you have to do. And if you're like me, when I was a kid, you just didn't really understand how to do it. You didn't understand why you had to do it, or you thought you never really needed to have a savior. You never done nothing wrong. But this world is just so cold and evil, and I don't want anybody. I don't want you all to go through the cruel, cold, harshness, sickness, things that I've had to deal with. And that's the importance of a testimony. That's the reason I'm making this video and sending it to you all right now, and hopefully you're watching it and can understand the things that I'm talking about. I hope what I'm saying even made sense. But that's my testimony. That's how I came to God. That's how I came to know our Messiah, and have a love for him, and want to study his word and follow him and give his word and preach his word and teach his word, or just do whatever he has me to do. And guys, this world is getting very, very sicker and very more evil day by day. They're destroying the morality. There's fighting and chaos going on in the streets, and everything going on in the politics right now, and with the COVID-19. Guys, these are prophetical events going on, not to scare you, but just trust in God and give your life and call out to him. And I love you all. Thanks for letting me have this opportunity to speak to you all. And you guys take care and be safe out there. And let somebody know if you need help. Shalom, everybody. Love you all. God bless you.